Hey guys, it's Gretchen and welcome back to my channel. So a few days ago, I asked on Instagram if any of you had a Pearson horror story that you would like to share that I could react to, and I got quite a few. So today's video is gonna be part 4 of my Reacting to Pearson Horror Stories series that comes out every few months. Y'all had some pretty scary ones, so that's what we're gonna be doing today. Just as a heads up, if you yourself would like to have a Pearson horror story read on my channel, you can send me a DM on Instagram. That's usually where I get them from, or you can leave them in the comments below. So this story is from Just Party Blah. I've gotten my ears pierced at Claire's before I knew what a Pearson place was. I've gotten my ears re-pierced there multiple times when I was younger. And the first time I got them done, I remember sitting in that chair of horror waiting for my piercing. I remember also feeling my heart ramming against my chest. The lady was nice and friendly, but my heart wouldn't calm down. She used the ink pen to mark the holes to pierce. And before all that, I had chosen my earrings I wanted. I asked her to count down for me. So she told me to take a deep breath and stay still. As soon as I began to take a breath that was super shaky, she pressed the first ear. My heart almost slipped out of my chest. Then time for the second ear. She did that one with no problem. But what I didn't realize was I was going to really regret this. I walked around the store to pick earrings I would wear once I was able to use it. And I felt a bit dizzy, but ignored that. I got in the car and went home, then my ear began to throb really bad. I used the ear solution on my piercings and turned it as I cleaned. I hate the fact that that's what they tell you to do, is to turn it, because that just continues to open the wound with no chance of it healing. It's just such bad practice. After a few days, my ear became tender to the touch, super crusty and leaked foul smelling pus. I didn't know what to do, but cleaned it off with the solution, as I have never had this. Then the next day, I woke up to the most pain I have ever felt. Like, not even being dramatic, I ran to the mirror and screamed because my ear and neck area where the product touched turned full of hives, soreness, and scabs from hell. My ear was on fire. My mom ran to see what happened, immediately took me to the doctor's after they gave me cream to put on. I used that, and after that, I had to take my earring out once they were sure my allergic skin was safe and not infected. I was in so much pain that I couldn't even lay on my pillow. Now, many years later, I found out what a Pearson place was and got them done correctly. That's just one of the multitude of horror stories coming out of Claire's, getting your ears done there. Whether it's your lobes or whether it's your cartilage, they use a piercing gun. Piercing guns are not good. Go watch this video that I did as to why they're not good. I don't know how they're able to keep going with that. It's cheap, but don't do it. Opal Lutz says, a few days ago, I was in the shower washing my hair, as one does, and I have about 7 piercings on each ear, most being lobes or helixes, and I have one that's about a few days old. If this was happening a few days old, did you do this piercing at home? Please tell me you got it done before quarantine. So I usually wash it with antibacterial soap. So I did it like nothing new. But then I felt something weird on my piercing bone. I didn't know. So I quickly washed off so I can get a mirror and see what's going on. I put up my hair and got 2 mirrors to check. Very smart to do that. Sometimes it's very difficult to see it with just one mirror, so you can always get like a mirror in front of you and then a mirror behind you, and that makes it a little bit easier. So good tip there. So I grab my ear so I can get a better look. Yes, I wash my hands, and all of a sudden I feel warm liquid squirt out and start to run down my hand and neck. It was blood pouring out of my ear, and it did not stop. It continued to bleed and bleed for almost 20 minutes. I used about 10 Q-tips trying to squeeze it to stop bleeding, but this boy was relentless. So even though I didn't necessarily see what type of bump was on the piercing, my friend and I kind of concluded it was a blood bubble. It was just scary having that much blood coming out of a little hole in my ear, and I've never had anything like that before. It's doing fine now, very crusty, but the bleeding has stopped. This baby only 2 weeks old, so I hope it does well. I've actually had one of those before. I assumed it was just a blood blister. It was on this tragus, which is the first tragus I got done. It was on the backside of it. It was horrific, but at least this was from my experience. You will find after the blood has run its course, you'll find that your piercing gets better after that. At least my tragus does. Like, it was disgusting beforehand. It did the same thing. Blood just kind of went everywhere. I don't know how that much blood was in a cartilage area, but I feel you on that. But then after that, it was like miraculously healed up. So I don't know what causes that. If anyone knows why a blood blister would form there, you can let us know. I really hope you didn't do your piercing in quarantine. I'm watching you. The Sam72 says, so I went to get piercings with my friend, and I should have gone to my usual place, but I didn't. I understand that mistake. I was going for my second ones. I only had my nostril done. We go to this place and the guy talks to us. We think we're in good hands. He showed us the sterilizer thing, and he kept weirdly assuring us that everything was clean. He took us back and I went first. I decided between snake bites and my tongue. Thank God I didn't get my tongue. He rubs iodine all over my mouth area, which I never had done before, and then marks the place where he would pierce. I liked it, and he did the first one, then the second one, but they were crooked AF. So instead of telling me to come in another day, he pierces the same exact area again. Oh, my stomach just turned. Ugh. It started to really hurt after that. Yeah, I bet it did. That's awful. We had chosen our jewelry and I picked the blandest ones because I thought they'd be cheaper. No, the entire ordeal cost $60 for the holes and $60 for some bland, too short pushbacks. At my normal place, they would have charged half. So since the guy gave me super short studs and pierced me twice in the same spot, the swelling was pretty bad. But the post started sinking into my lip and hurt so bad. I went to my normal place for a navel and I asked her to look at my lip because I didn't think it was supposed to hurt that much, but just wasn't sure. She changed the jewelry to the length it was supposed to be, and it felt loads better like that. They felt great, but I had developed small mounds of scar tissue where the post sunk in. I didn't know how to get rid of them, so I naturally just bit them off. It didn't hurt to do that, but I felt like a bad bitch. And that was my horrible snake bites experience. So much about that made my stomach hurt. So I make a face about you biting like the scar tissue off. I do that with ulcers. Like if you give an ulcer on your tongue or something like that, I'm the dummy that bites them off, so I really can't make a face at that. I've seen like piercing videos gone wrong where people like pierce a spot and then they realize, oh, that wasn't correct. And so then they pierce the exact same like area again, and that turns my stomach. That I can't even imagine, like if a piercer tried to do that to me, I'd probably pass out or punch them, but it would depend. More power to you for sticking through it. I hope they heal fine or healed fine or whatever, but yikes. So sorry you had that experience. Amy Mulkey says, in 2011, my junior year in high school, I got my belly button pierced. I didn't realize how much my stomach bumps into things. I'm really short, 4'7", so maybe things hit my stomach area more than taller people. I'm sure you know what is coming next. My piercing rejected. It left a little scar. A few years later, when I was in college, I decided I wanted to get my belly button pierced again. I went to another place, explained to a new piercer about my experience, but the first time I got it done, I mentioned that the first piercer used a clamp when he pierced my belly button, and the initial jewelry I used had plastic screw up balls. That sounds weird. She said that, not me, but I get you. I also changed the jewelry probably too soon. The new piercer said that all of that most likely caused a rejection, so I did it again. This time corrected everything above. Unfortunately, my belly button piercing rejected again. Now I have an even bigger scar. That right there is why I'm terrified to get my belly button re-pierced again, because mine rejected as well. Mine was more, it was pierced incorrectly. From the sounds of it, yours was pierced correctly. It just kept hitting things, which made it irritated, and then it was just like, all right, peace. Different situations, but I'm terrified of the same thing, like getting it re-pierced, having it reject, getting a bigger scar, because I do have a little scar still from where I had it done before, and so I'm just terrified of that scar getting bigger. So maybe if you try a third time, actually I'm not even sure I would try a third time at that point. I'd be too terrified. I'm sorry that happened to you. Marta Setnoroska, I hope I say these usernames correctly, says, got my ears pierced with a gun because we thought it was better to get lobes done with a gun. No. They started healing fine, but then about 7 weeks later, when they were supposed to be healed, I woke up and my ear was swollen and there was pus on my pillow. Ugh. I was confused when I went to touch my ear to check if it was okay. It exploded with blood and pus. Luckily, they are healed now and I've gotten more piercings done since with a needle. Good job to have gotten the rest done with a needle. Just piercing guns, they're so bad. They're so bad. There's no redeeming qualities about piercing guns. Please don't ever get a piercing done with a gun. And apparently there are people who are advocates for piercing guns. I don't understand that. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Just because it's a cheap option, don't do it. You know what isn't cheap? Healing. So if you get it done with a gun, yeah, that may have been cheap, but then down the road, you might have issues that require a little bit more of an expense. Might as well just get all the expense out of the way right up front. Leglar says, I pierced my own nostril in December of last year, first mistake, and loved it, but it fell out in my sleep when using an L-shaped stud. Then once it healed, I pierced it again, let it heal with another L stud for about 2 weeks, and changed it to a hoop. Second mistake. I got a huge piercing bump on my nostril, and not only did it fall out this time, it got ripped out by my pillow. Now I have a huge scar on my nose, and all I wanted is a cute little nostril piercing. And what did we learn from this? 1, don't pierce yourself, and 2, don't change your jewelry early. I don't know why your L-shaped was falling out as much. Maybe it didn't have as much of an L curve. I know I've seen some before where it's not so much a 90-degree angle, it's more like a 45-degree angle. So I get why that might fall out a little bit easier. But as someone who has used L shapes before, unless it gets like caught on a towel, I've never experienced it coming out. But please, please, please don't pierce yourself just because you want a piercing and you think it's a better option to do. It's not. You're not a professional. You didn't go train to become a piercer. Don't do it yourself. Please, please, please don't do it yourself. I hope your bump has gone away. Holly Andres 14 says, not necessarily a horror story, but when I got my lobes pierced, both with a gun, didn't know better. We've all been there. One side, both times, got stuck in the gun. My stomach is just like falling out to my butt today. My first lobes, the lady saw it got stuck on one side and was careful. The next ear also got stuck, but she didn't see it and it pulled my ear. I teared up. When I got my second lobes done 7 years later, the exact same thing happened, except the lady didn't see it on either side, and so they both got pulled. See, just another reason why not to get any piercing done with a piercing gun. That's unfortunately a common thing that happens, is that it like gets stuck somehow, whether the skin actually gets stuck in the gun or if like the gun jams. That happens a lot. Just another reason why you should go to a piercing shop, go to a professional who just has a needle, and just, you don't have to worry about all this other stuff happening. Just get it done properly and by a professional and not by a Claire's associate. Anonymous says, about 3 years ago, I got my helix pierced with a gun. I know, it's okay. If you didn't know any better, it's okay. You know better now though. About 3 years ago, I got my helix pierced with a gun, and after a few weeks, the skin started to grow over the earring. So the front of the ring was covered with skin, and the ring was basically stuck in my ear. I had to ask a friend to pop the ring through the skin, leaving a big hole in my ear. It healed well after that, but I still have the scar. Needless to say, I never got pierced with a gun again. I don't know what it is about that. From what I've heard before, skin doesn't really grow over jewelry unless it's jewelry that's not meant to be an initial piercing, like acrylic or plastic or something like that. If it's metal, it's not supposed to. The only other time where skin might grow over jewelry is if the jewelry is too small. Not necessarily like the gauge size, but like the stone on one end or the back on the other end. If they're like too small for the piercing site, then the skin can start to grow over it. So was that the case? Because otherwise that's just terrifying. I mean, it's terrifying no matter what, but just, you don't want your ear to eat your jewelry. That's not cool. That's not cool. I'm sorry you have a scar now, but at least it's okay. Ugh. And the last one is a short one, but it's one I feel I've experienced before too. From Juliana Elaine, she said, this happened 2 years ago, but a week after I got my second conch piercing, I met my roommate's puppy. She was so jumpy and excited, she almost ripped it out. Had it pierced with a hoop. Please don't judge. Not judging. Not my preference. Not my favorite thing to get a piercing done with, but I know why some people like it. I understand the whole puppy thing. This time last year, I was playing with the dog at work. We were just kind of goofing off at work one day, and someone in my department brought their puppy. I was playing with her. It was so exciting. And next thing I know, my tragus, my first one, starts hurting really bad, and I look on the floor and she's trying to eat the jewelry that she had just ripped out of my ear because she was so excited, so jumpy, and was all over me, and I was all over her, and it was fine. But then my ear started hurting, and I was like, wonder why? And I'm like, oh, there's no stud there. Just know that it wasn't the hoop that may have almost ripped out. Dogs are just very excited, and you know what? We can't fault them for that. We love to see that excitement from dogs. We just don't want them to rip our jewelry out. So that is it for this go around of piercing horror stories. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your story. I got a lot this time. If you want to submit for next time, you can go ahead and do that. Some of them were really long, and that was the main reason why I wasn't able to get to them. Your girl is winded already from just doing this, so thank you to those who submitted a horror story. I'm sorry that we have all been in the place to have dealt with horror stories, but you know what? They're good places to learn from. And so hopefully we learned something from this. This time around it seems to be, don't use a piercing gun or pierce yourself. Please don't do that. Again, if you have your own piercing horror story, leave them in the comments below. For the next time around, I will look at this video, but I will also ask on Instagram in the DMs. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big ol' thumbs up. Go on down there and hit that subscribe button, wherever it may be, because I don't know. Even though I do, this is just my shtick now. Also hit the notification bell in case you want to know when I upload, and in case YouTube wants to let you know when I upload, because I would really appreciate it. And until next time, bye guys. By the way, yes, my hair is yellow. The whole thing. Whole thing. Dye the whole thing.